Hello, and welcome to Sponge Stories, the podcast for face painters by face painters. I'm Siobhan, the face behind Theatrics Faces, and I'm on a mission to lift the lid on what it really takes to build a face painting business, the good, the messy, and everything in between. Each episode, I'll be chatting to artists, industry experts, and real working face painters about the things that we don't always talk about. Pricing struggles, burnout, confidence, boundaries, growth, and how to actually make this job work for your life. So whether you're painting your first full face or juggling a fully booked diary this year, you're in the right place. Let's get straight into today's episode. So I'd like to introduce our guest for today on Sponge Stories. Our guest is Juliet Eve. I was thinking about this last night and I was thinking, is it too cringe to introduce you as a titan of the industry? But you have been around in the industry for a long time, and you've obviously won multiple awards, like Face Painter of the Year over the years, several times, I think I read. And you are also the owner of the Facade Academy, training new people in the industry. So I think that does mean that you get the accolade of expert and titan of industry. So welcome to Sponge Stories, the podcast to just chat as face painters. And my plan for it is that everybody is the same. Everybody will have been here at some point. And when you've had a terrible day or a brilliant day and you just want to share it with someone who gets it, it might be nice to tune into a podcast like this on your way home from a gig. So I thought it's nice to hear other people's stories of how they've come through the industry at different points and what we all go through. So yes, welcome, Juliet.
Thank you for that. Lovely words. It's very kind of you. Yes, I have been painting for a long time, but it's odd when people sort of say, "Oh my God, you're famous! You know, I'm scared of you," and it's like, I and I suppose I have, although I just think it's ridiculous, but have become sort of famous. So what? I'm just a painter. I'm just a human like anyone else. I just carry on painting. I paint on the job. And yes, I do some teaching and so on and so on. And yes, I did win Face Painter of the Year, but like any good marketing person, which I'm not, but a lot of people said to me, look, you've got to use that. You've got to use it in your marketing, the fact that you won this. So I thought, well, okay. And of course, it does impress some people that have never met a face painter before. But I try and be honest in that, it was I wanted a face painting association. So it's just for 1 year. And yes, I've won lots of other awards as well. I've used that one and I'm very thankful to them for sort of letting me do that, even though it was a long time ago now.
You should be proud of it. I think it's a very British thing that we downplay our achievements, don't we? I think if we were in America, we'd be shouting it from the rooftops. But we should feel proud of that. I'd love to win that one day.
True. I mean, I suppose I am proud of myself, but I hope I'm trying to be humble as well. And I do have to sort of keep it up. But like all face painters, you have good days and bad days, and that's fine as well.
I know. Sometimes the brush doesn't play ball, does it?
Absolutely. And one thing I have definitely learned, and I definitely teach, is, perfection does not exist. And in fact, I often think people say, oh, I'm a perfectionist. It's like, no, that's an excuse. Just let that go. Art is never perfect. Art is totally subjective. And on a bad day, I'll just sort of smile sweetly, show them the mirror for a split second, put it down, say, next. I have plenty of bad faces I've painted over the years.
How did you get started into face painting then? How did it begin, I suppose? Because it's rare that someone comes straight out of school and thinks, that's exactly what I'm going to be.
Yeah, quite. When I went to careers advice at school, I was expected to be a nurse or a secretary, and I ended up being a secretary, actually. So I had children. I was in the NCT, which is the National Childbirth Trust here in the UK, and I was helping out at their little fair, and someone gave me a book. Attached to the book, it was a tiny wee palette, 6 little colours, and it was full of pictures, and off I went. They said, oh, you like art, don't you? You do the face paintings.
Did you do art at school? Were you very creative coming out of school?
I did art O-level and loved art. All my family are kind of arty or crafty. I mean, going back generations. So it's, it was in my blood, I think.
Yeah, because I loved art at school. But I mean, I went to a very good school, a very academically driven school. And I think, I don't know if it was the generation that I came through, but you went to school, you did your A levels, you went to university. And I was given the choice of I could do one creative topic for GCSE, and I had to choose between art and textiles, and I did textiles. That turned out to be my best topic. I got an A star in that. But I wasn't allowed to take it on to A level. My parents were like, no, 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 you need to choose proper subjects. And I feel like now looking back, so far I would have gone completely creative, but instead I took a detour for the best part of sort of 10, 15 years, and then came back round to the creative, which is where I'm most happy. It's just interesting. I do think about this with my children sometimes about whether I'll encourage them, like, what do you enjoy doing? Because if you're going to do something for the rest of your life, you need to enjoy.
I mean, that's well known. It's often said that if you do something you enjoy, you're more likely to be successful at it because you're going to give
Mm,
it your all. And the fact is that in this country, in the UK, art in the widest sense, particularly the film studios, they're huge now. It's a huge part of the income of the country, if you like. As long as you put a kind of serious head on and say, I can make this into a business. In the old days, it was just all about being a starving artist. But now we
yeah.
can actually make it a business. And, I'm absolutely thrilled to have been able to do this, whilst mainly, on the whole, being a single mum, brought up my two children, paid the mortgage, paid the bills,
Wow.
so it can be
That's
done.
incredible. So what was your first face painting job, I suppose, then? Was helping out at an NCT fair, or was that volunteering? What was your first paid gig? When did it become like a proper, I'm going to take money
Yeah,
for this? Because a lot of
yeah.
people start out with doing, like, they do fall into it, like helping out at a school event or a fair. And then I do think there's a big jump between that and saying, okay, I'm going to take someone's money and paint faces.
I honestly can't remember. The only thing I can remember is that the girl who was the chair of the NCT, her husband was very techie minded, and he said to me, "Oh, you need some cards." So I was over at theirs, and he literally printed out on some A4 sheet, sort of 9 or something of these little pictures, little cards, if you like, and said, you're good, you should do this. But I can't remember the first gig. I've got a few photos of me painting, but I couldn't really tell you exactly.
When did it become your sort of full time business then?
So I think when the first sort of 4 or 5 years, I was doing little bits, and I remember doing things like the local spring bank holiday fair. And then when they were about 5 or 6, that's when, my partner went, and then I had to start being kind of self-sufficient. So then I started doing weekend parties and calling on all my other single friends to look after the children. I was doing all sorts of other jobs, to fill in, to bring in a bit of money. So that's when I started handing out the cards. Because as you probably know, well, even to this day, it's word of mouth. So hand something out and somebody passes it on, books you. But don't forget, it was a new sort of novel idea then. So there were no high expectations of standards. And I was copying from a book still, basically. I had the old Grimace book, a Snazaroo book, but most of all, Caro Child's book. That was the best thing. It was the Usborne produced it first of all. It's been reproduced, but still to this day, one of the best beginner books to take.
Was it when the kids were a bit older that you were able to think, oh, I'm going to do this full time and make this the career? Or was it at the point that you set up the Facade Academy that made it more of a full time?
Yeah, I'm not sure which came first, but I know that I was working as a TA in a school 5 days a week and trying to paint at the weekends. And it just became too much. And so I dropped the TA work down to, I think, 3 days a week. And then I could cope and, get other stuff done. And it was roughly the same time when I started teaching. People had asked me if they could learn from me. So yeah, and then again, another friend came up with the name Facade, which I thought was rather lovely, and he produced a little website for me and business stuff. Yeah, started teaching, obviously in a classroom at those days, and it's a gradual transition really, into when the teaching got so busy I needed help. Then I began to do it regularly every week, usually 2 or 3 classes per week in term time only, because by this stage, I think probably I was working at the zoo, as it was Paradise Wildlife Park, now the Hertfordshire Zoo. So I was working there all the holidays, all the weekends, from February right through till the end of Halloween, really. So it's a lot. Plus teaching, it was a great deal. It's
But
good.
that's great for a face painter to get a gig like that where you're just, you're booked.
Absolutely. So lucky. In fact, it was too much. So I then began to build a team.
Mm.
And I probably had, I don't know, sometimes 15, 20 people I could call on, all fairly local in Hertfordshire in the UK. And they were amazing and really good standards, some of whom I'd taught.
And would you say is having a regular gig like that has helped you, I suppose, stay in this industry and stay in this career? Because a lot of people, I suppose, do this for a few years and then struggle to make it full time. And then you do have to find that balance between working either a part time, full time job and squeezing this in on the weekends and having downtime and having family time. I mean, I'm a nightmare for this. I just book all of my time in to do everything and struggle to get any downtime at all. That's something I'm trying my best to work on at the moment, is scheduling in days that are just booked out for family and days that are just booked out for nothing at all.
There's several points there which are important. One is I'm a great advocate for looking after yourself because you can't look after anybody else unless you are okay.
Mm.
So that's number one. And so I remember sometimes I would, if I gave myself for whatever crazy reason, sort of 7 days on the trot, day seven, someone say, go, and I'd go, oh, not another tiger. I go, whoa, hey, day off time. Yes, let's do another tiger because I haven't done many today.
But that's how I
Anyway,
feel about unicorns. It's like, oh, I'm not
well,
another unicorn. Give me something different.
absolutely. So I would definitely take a day off. And then the next time I was in, they'd say, can I have a tiger? I said, oh, I love tigers. And I meant it genuinely. So that's number one. Number two, the fact that I had a regular gig meant that every single day I was there, for rainy days, I would be painting non-stop from about 10 or 11 up until 5 or 6, non-stop. So I was able to learn and experiment and develop my skills, develop speed, develop all that relationship you have to have with the clients. I mean, we had a cross section of clients there. So it meant that I was able to build skills. I was so lucky. So many people that they only get a 2 hour gig, maybe once or twice a weekend. And you don't have time to build skills. And I did. And that's why I always say to people, try and practice out of hours for fun. Enjoy it. But turn the telly off. That's the biggest thing that stops people. I truly believe.
Yeah, I found my skills improved so much in such a short space of time when I did my first Halloween stint. And especially over the half term, the way Halloween fell this year was that I was doing I think I did pretty much the whole of October. And yeah, it's intense. It was 10 days without a single day off at one point. But by the end of that, it's like the brush was just my best friend because of that intense practice of being there 10 till 4 every day. And there just never not being a break, never not being anybody waiting, which was lovely. But I did feel like you could see a massive improvement in my skills in that time just from that intensive practicing. And I was chatting to a face painter the other day who was saying to get practice in the early days would just set up in her local playground or park and be like, do you want free face painting? Because you've just then got a constant stream of children. At the sake of a day, you just get so much from that personally, being able to practice. And I thought, oh, that's a really good idea. If my skills feel rusty, I can go set up in a
Yeah.
playground or a park somewhere. My kids can play and then everyone else can have their face painted. Because, yeah, my children, the novelty's worn off having their faces done now.
My advice there always is to get your children to invite their friends over on a regular, like, Friday pizza night or something, because if their friends are being painted, they will want to get painted. Nearly always.
Really get some practice in then. So, a bit more about the Facade Academy, because that is, I'd say, your main focus now. Is that what takes up most of your time rather than smaller birthday parties? Or,
It is. I mean, I'm of an age now where I really do want to do other things, as
Mm,
well. Perfectly happy not to have to do parties all the time. So therefore, the teaching side. So the Facade Academy, just after COVID, I started doing online classes and found that actually, because the camera is so close to my hands, people can watch, and it's in fact a much better system than I thought it was going to be. And then I learned all about these memberships, and I thought, well, that would be perfect. So that's why I started doing, regular weekly classes live. And to be honest, we are the only school that does live regular classes. So people can actually interact. I said, Juliet, what were you doing there? I didn't see, or what brush are you using? Or so it works well. And so I set up this membership. So it's called the FAM Club. And FAM is literally Facade Academy Members Club. And yeah, I run live classes, but there's a lot to do on it. And actually, yes, it does take up almost more time than I want it to. But it's okay, thankfully, because I have such a fabulous team that works with me. And I say to everybody, all my members, anyone who's starting up a business, I say, you cannot be all things to all men. You've got to get help. My business could not function without Manda, for one, who I've known since NCT days, literally,
Mm.
and Kay. So the two of them it's more than a backbone, it's the framework, and I'm just sort of dabbling and painting in between now. So yeah, that's how good businesses run, is delegation, hand it over. It's not weak because you can't do that, or you can't do your website, or you can't do your social marketing or whatever. Get help. Essential. I've said
Yeah.
the same to you, Siobhan.
Yes, you did. You did. You told me that was the first thing you said when we spoke. But it's true. And there's so many, especially after COVID, there's so many more freelance opportunities and remote working opportunities now. So that you can look at, there's lots of content creators out there. I personally, creating content on Instagram and Facebook, it feels like smashing my head against the wall. Just, it's so hard. But I've been looking into freelancers where to them it's something they can almost do in their sleep, and they can set it all up for you. And for the sake of a couple of £100 put through your business, is tax deductible, and they can run with that. And I don't have to worry about any of that anymore. And it's,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's all done remotely. It's genius now. Husband. I suppose
totally.
this
Totally.
leads into something I wanted to speak about anyway, about sort of the comparison as well, because I end up in a rabbit hole of other face painters and this incredible content that they produce. And I'm thinking, I need to be more on it. I need to produce content like that. And then I think, well, I don't particularly love looking at myself on a screen. Also, I struggle to paint my own face quite a lot because my hand gets in the way. I can't really see what I'm doing. I love painting other people's faces, which is good because that's what I get paid to do. But I then think, oh, maybe I should produce more content where I'm painting my own face. Like, I see there's so many people out there that do it so beautifully. And then I get in my head that I need to do that to be successful. And I don't. I can carry on doing what I'm doing. We all need to be different. We don't all want to be carbon copies of each other. But I suppose that's a really long-winded way of me saying that have you ever, with all your experience, suffered from that comparison, looking at what other people are doing, or imposter syndrome, or anything like that?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. However, I've almost taught myself to feel. So as soon as I feel, oh, I really should be doing this, I can almost in a split second now say, stop. No. For a start, not should, but could. I could do that. But do you know what? I'm going to choose to do something else. I am good enough. One of my dear friends, I have to mention her because she's brilliant, Naomi Gay, and she produces these affirmation cards, all sorts of things in here. My opinion is valid, and I am respected. If you tell yourself enough time, you'll believe it. What I mean is, there's 20 cards here, and I recommend everyone buys a set and you keep it somewhere where you see it regularly. I've also learned, don't compare, because there's a Picasso, but there's a Monet, and then there's a, oh, I don't know, a Constable. They're all different, and art is that. I just do not bother to compare, so I could improve. I'm never going to be a Nick Wolf or a, Mark Reed, or I've got loads of friends who are fabulous artists. So just do what you do it well. Even if you aren't the best painter in the world, the painting is only half the business. More than half is who you are, how you run your business, how you present yourself, how you handle the children and the clients and the parents and the difficult ones. And funnily enough, just to add briefly, when I was at the zoo working there all the time, I found it gave me practice in handling difficult clients. It was almost a wonderful exercise I did, is looking at the queue, and you can spot the difficult ones, the lovely ones.
Do you have any worst stories or funny stories or
Uh,
nightmare clients? Naming no names, naming no places, obviously. But it's good to hear these sort of things and know that it doesn't always go so smoothly. And you can practice 1,000 hours before a gig and something will still go wrong.
Of course. And, one of the things I teach is to learn to expect the unexpected. And that is, again, part of the experience, isn't it? You go to a gig, you've never been there before, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's the confidence to be able to know that you can handle whatever comes your way, whether you're presented with a toadstool as your table and you've got to wear this ridiculous outfit. And it's kind of smile on, we just run with it. As for worse things, I'm a pretty positive person, and I almost have the ability to be able to calm down a stroppy person or a difficult situation, or just what I call do a frozen. Okay, do a frozen and let it go.
It's,
Okay. You'll hear me say this online quite a lot. With people, oh, so they did this, and I wasn't even offered a drink, and I wasn't. Yeah, and it's like, just do a frozen, just let it go. Accept the situation. You have to acknowledge it. I'm not going to get a drink from these people. I'm stuck in a dark toilet. I've worked in toilets before, definitely. I've done body painting in toilets before. Oh, yeah, yeah. In clubs where drunken people stagger in and threaten to knock everything over. 35 years, I've done it all. I've seen it all. I can't even remember the bad times because I don't care. And they're actually, if you don't call them bad and don't get all worked up about it at the time, they just blur into the past. But I can pick up some good bits.
that's what we want to hear then. It's good that you remember the good bits. It means that you genuinely enjoy what you're doing.
I love it. I love it. I love people. I love art. I love being able to produce something different every 5 minutes. I am so lucky and so grateful to have been able to make a living out of art. Again,
See,
as I say, not the best
I love
artist, doesn't matter.
working with the children because I love it because it's 5 minute chunks
Yeah,
and then they're off. And they're not my responsibility in that time. I just
yeah,
sort of, it's like a micro entertainment, 5 minutes because kids, oh, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. And then they're off and they're no longer I couldn't ever be a teacher. Could never teach at a primary school. I get along with kids so well. And people often say to me, like, oh, you'd be great at teaching. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that all day, every day. I love my little micro interactions with them. For 5 minutes, we have a laugh, we have a joke. I paint their face, they're off, they're happy. Brilliant. It's my favorite bit
yeah,
about it.
yeah. And how, given a chance, how inventive they can be. And I've done loads of festivals, for instance, thanks to Naomi Gay, actually. NAMS, who used to organise lots and lots of them. Camp Festival we used to do, and
Mm,
Elderflower Fields we still do, and loads more. But the best thing of all is working in a team. Love it because there's
yeah.
a great banter going on. There's a buzz. You keep each other going. I mean, that was always a classic for me. Actually, it's very funny is that at festivals, I've always been the one that will do anything. I'd hear a shout across the tent, Juliet, can you do this rainbow monster, whatever, sci-fi something or other? Yeah, go on then, send them over. Or Juliet, can you do a rhino? Yeah, go on, send them over. So I'd always have a little mini queue beside me of all the weird and wonderful ones. And but it was funny.
Did you go about sort of finding people in your area to team up with for events like that?
Gosh, all sorts of different ways. When I first started painting, we had a forum, the first face paint forum, and we were all on it. And there were lots of local people as well. So I got to know them. I also joined Face Painting Association. So they were local. I also, because I taught, I got to know local people and they got good enough to work with. Oh, wow.
Did you meet people at jams as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there weren't really many jams then. It was very rare. Face had their conference, annual conference, and Rosie's convention, don't forget. Well, it was Rosie's. Um, Rosie from Rainbow Faces, who's actually just set up a shop. Little shout out for her. So that was another place to meet people. So it was a gradual thing, gradual process. Yeah. But yeah, I was just going to come back to some of the good things, some standouts. One was doing a couple of music videos, actually. One was for a band who was called Easy Life. I say was because EasyJet sued them, and so they had to change it to Hard Life. The song was called Skeletons. And
Wow.
if you listen to that, it's a lovely lovely track. But if you look at that, at the end, you'll see the lead riding a horse who is painted as a skeleton. So I painted the horse.
Well, that's pretty cool. I like that.
So
Something
it was
different.
fun. Absolutely. It's great. Such a lovely horse. I used to
How
ride as
did you
well.
come across that? Did they approach you?
I think it was one of those things that was online and someone said Juliet would probably do that because they knew I'd painted. I do lots of body painting as well. And funnily enough, it was about a mile away from my house where the place was where they had the horse, where they were going to use it from. So I did that. That was great. Then another one was in a job through another friend of mine, face painter friend Zoe Thornbury Phillips. And she got this gig, which was painting for another band whose name I forget, something like Breaking Glass or Glass Sea. And we were painting in a cave during the war, something like the Rolls-Royce factory or something, moved that whole manufacturing thing underground so they wouldn't get bombed. And there's this whole cave network in the Derbyshire, in the Peak District somewhere, miles and miles and miles of a cave network where the factory was set up during the war. And it was used for this amazing film video for another band. And we had to do neon painting, and they had, the light all the way through. That was fabulous. So that was fun. Yeah, that's really good. Oh, another one. We all went to Turkey on a gig. And again, actually, it was doing neon face paint for a big company who I better not mention their name. But anyway, but it was in Turkey. It was fabulous. And I mean, the funny thing was at the end of the party night, a lot of us ended up skinny dipping. Yes, it was even funnier when our towels were picked up by this very kind person who decided to bring the towel down to us to the waterside.
No
And we had
agenda.
to then quite. So anyway, yeah.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
were they people that you knew before you went to Turkey? Were they face painters from the
Yeah,
same
they were.
community?
It was, yeah, one of the dream team. Yes,
The
definitely.
dream
Yeah,
team.
they were gorgeous, all of them.
I've personally found so far, not so much, I suppose, in the last sort of few weeks since I've been really reaching out to people, but I found building a face painting business, it's been surprisingly isolating. I think it's more the self employed element of it, because when you're self employed, it's all on you and it's all on. The more you put in, I suppose, the more you get out. I don't think anybody's ever just had jobs come to them in the beginning. You have to put yourself out there. And it can be quite self-isolating, and as much as I talk to my lovely husband about it, he's not a painter, so he doesn't get it, and my friends and family, I think they thought I was absolutely bananas when I said I was gonna set up a face painting business. So it's part of the reason why I started this podcast and why I want to really create a online community for all face painters to separate from, I suppose, it's not about teaching or learning or anything. It's just about all being together and having that shared experience. I know we've spoken about you've sort of had a team around you. Did you find it isolating at all in the beginning?
To be honest, no, but that could be down to, well, two things. One is just personality, is that I make a point of connecting with people. I think in any business, particularly where you are working on your own or you're self employed, and one bit of advice I'd give is that if you're setting up a face painting business, you've actually got to change your mindset that I am now a business person, because it will help how you see yourself. And it actually gives you confidence. So most face painters start out when they have their children, when they're about 4 or 5, they go to school. And then they just feel like, oh, it's just mum dabbling in a little hobby. They don't see themselves as something serious. If you decided to set up as an accountant or a builder, you have a different attitude. So one of the things I highly recommend is go and join a local business networking group. I'd say this to everyone. Because you go along there and you meet the person that, I don't know, does printing, and the person that produces t-shirts and things with your logo on it, and you meet a builder and these self-employed people, and then you hear them talking about running a business, and you think, that's what I'm doing. I'm running a business. And it changes your mindset, and you suddenly lift up the shoulders. But yes, definitely go to jams, if only to meet people and to see them firsthand and to feel that paint and touch the brushes firsthand, So
Yeah.
yeah,
Things that you think newer painters worry about that you wish they didn't.
I guess they worry about competition.
Mm.
And they say, oh, but there's hundreds of face painters in my city, town, whatever. And I think, yeah, now just go and look down the road. many, I don't know, restaurants are on that stretch? How many garages sell cars? How many whatever shops sell clothes? Because there are lots, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. In fact, it's completely the opposite. If there are lots of restaurants in that town, that probably means there's a pretty good demand for restaurants. So set up another one if you want. But as a face painter, when you set up, you've got to do something a bit different. So you do have to make the effort to run a business and market it properly and make it good and get your skills up. But don't worry about the competition. We are all different. And much as cars, I've said this bored everyone, but you can buy a Mercedes brand new, or you can buy a Ford whatever, something mid-range, or you can go down to the second-hand shop and buy one for £500. There is a market for everybody. There is always a market for the person you want to work for.
Yeah.
My daughter works with Naomi Gay. So my daughter, Philippa, she had set up a business, face painting, and they definitely aim at market. Their whole website looks beautiful. Poppy and Pearl, look them up.
Yeah, shout outs.
Absolutely. They are the tops. They are fabulous painters. They're lovely personalities. They work for top brands in London and so on. So there is always a market for every type. Be you just a standard birthday party, or you love doing paper face, or you want to do top corporates or weddings. If you market it properly, you can get there. So do not worry about the competition. Yeah, I think that's one of the main things.
And what's one lesson that you'd say that you learned the hard way that stayed with you particularly, either recently or a long time ago?
Yeah, I guess it's about timing in a way. If I had realized that face painting really had potential, if I'd known early days, I would have done more about it earlier and pushed the marketing earlier. But I had no
Yeah.
experience then. So I suppose that was learned the hard way, which is why it perhaps took me longer to get going better.
I suppose that was more an organic way of growing in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was. And I think the other thing that I'm really bad at is efficiency, forgetting things. So getting a good diary, a good system working, having all those
Yeah.
forms and everything.
Where face painting's such a creative job, I think a lot of creative people are often neurodivergent in some way. I struggle with the organisation. And it's because I'd rather be doing the painting. I have to force myself to do the other side of things. And I think from a few of the people I've spoken to so far, I think that's pretty common. You've got to be quite disciplined with yourself in the other side, because the painting is just what we fall in love with.
And that, as you say, that's about running a business. But also, I'll say it again and again and again: get help. Things you're not good at, get someone else to do them. It will pay off in the long run, because, as you say, that investment in someone doing your accounts or whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, the number of people are freaking out at the moment because we're coming up to 31st of January and they haven't done their accounts, and they go through 2 weeks of stress. I'm
Hell.
thinking, do you know what? You could pay someone a couple of £100. They'll do it for you. Run a business. That's what you are.
And would you say that's the advice that you'd give painters most frequently as part of your fan club and the facade, is that get help?
Yeah, definitely. The other thing, you should stand up straight, stand to the side of your chair, stand up, keep your back straight, and look after your body. To this day, at my age, I can still paint 10 hours a day without having a bad back. Now, I watch people either sitting and leaning forward, and they say, oh, well, the child keeps leaning back. Stop painting, get them to sit forward. You do that 3 times in the first 20 seconds, they will stay there. So look after your body. Again, if you were working in a factory or something and you had to stand there all day, they would put you through a course, manual handling, to make sure you did stand correctly, because it matters. So this is what we should really, really be aware of.
Yeah, I really like that. I suppose if you sit in an office all day, you get an ergonomic desk and an ergonomic chair, and you're taught to type this way and sit this way so you don't hurt yourself. And then I find myself at the end of a long day leaning forward and thinking, why didn't I bring a comfier chair? That's what I need to invest in. That's my next one, is some more ergonomic way of sitting for me.
And also, I wouldn't sit. I think avoid sitting if you can. I mean, if you can't, fine, you sit. You sit dead upright and the child comes to you, they're only there 5 minutes. And also, don't forget that their head can turn. So you don't have
Yes.
to do the turning. Their head does the turning.
If you had a key bit of advice for someone who has maybe been doing some volunteer face painting and thinking about taking the step, do I create myself a little side hustle? Do I start charging people? What advice would you give them for a new painter?
This is where I disagree with one, again, a lovely friend who also teaches is Donna Godfrey. So she's in the
Mm,
UK and she's fabulous, the funniest person.
I'm
Really
one of
is.
Donna's.
She's great.
I'm one of
Oh,
Donna's
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
students.
Exactly. She's fab. And this is where, she knows and I know that we sort of disagree on this. She's very much do one day, right, now get out there and go and earn. And I'm very much of the no, don't rush, because I see a lot of those people come online, a few weeks out, oh, I've got my first gig. I don't know what to do. What paints should I buy? And what brushes and what designs and what? And I'm thinking, hang on, you've had one lesson. You think you can go? Sorry. But Donna says, no, go and learn it on the job. Now, for me, I very much believe that learn it like you would any other apprenticeship, or if you go to university or college to learn something. So I say, learn it properly, learn it thoroughly, learn it, and so much faster. It will save you so much time if you spend, be it 6 months or a year, training properly,
Mm.
so that by the end of that year, you will feel confident to do anything that anybody asks you.
You have your own pathway, don't you? And you do that slow, thorough progression through. And that's what's different as opposed to other ways of learning.
Totally. And it just means that you learn, first of all, you learn all the resources. So you know what
Mm.
brushes, what paints, everything, what kit to get and why. You learn all about looking after your back, standing up. Uh, then you learn how to sponge, how to blend. Then you learn all the different brush strokes and the different brushes. Then you start to learn all the different faces. So, and we built in all the standard stuff you've got to know, with the butterflies, the monsters, the unicorns, dear bless them, et cetera, et cetera. So you've then got as many as possible. And then we also teach all the business stuff, because not many schools sort of do all the business as well. And again, we've got months and months of modules on that. So basically, you start at the beginning. If you finish that paint path, you will be pretty much ready to go out, because you've done some practice within it. And you will really feel more confident, rather than going out and freaking out because, I don't know, the queue's so long, or you can only paint, for an hour or whatever it is. But, we really try and teach everything step by step. And you've got a very solid foundation, learning
Mm.
the fundamental skills, and then you can grow. However, I also teach creativity, and I teach people to try and do something different every single time. Every single time. Yeah.
And I suppose
So, yeah.
because there's no industry standard. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that would never even go on a training course. They would just start, they're
No.
very much self taught. And I suppose a lot of people that are doing hosting training courses are self taught in the beginning, because the training courses themselves are still relatively new, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So, and I think there's different training courses out there for everybody. There are always going to be people that want to spend longer to learn, and people that don't and
Yeah.
would rather just get out and do.
And they can, but it just sort of slightly, say, frustrating, but when they appear the next week and say, "Oh, how do I do this? Could you give me some designs for tigers?" I'm thinking, that's basics. Or, what do I need to start a business? And wow, these are
Mm,
basics that you should be learning before you come and ask, kind of
yeah.
thing. People think they can learn everything from just the newbies group or whatever, which is a fabulous resource. I mean, I
Mm,
wouldn't got nothing against that. I'm bound to say this, aren't I? Because I run it, but it will save you so much
yeah.
time if you learn all this stuff first, and then it's learning to walk before you can run. And then off you go. Then you can charge full whack when you go out, rather than starting at £20 and thinking, "Oh no, how can I increase it?"
It's a strange industry because there's no, I suppose, regulation. So when I did Donna's training, I had a one-to-one training day with her, and I thought it was brilliant. It taught me everything I needed to set up the business and pricing. And I've never priced lower than £50. I've been very lucky. And then I'm building it up every year. And I came out with a set of designs that I could just start the next day and paint. I didn't, because I wanted to go home and practice, obviously. But I was able to, yeah, start doing paying gigs and stuff, and they have their own online support group for questions as well. But I know that there are courses elsewhere that don't maybe offer that same support. And I feel quite lucky. Like, I've sort of seen Donna as a mentor as well. Like, if ever I've had any questions, I've been able to ask her directly. I've not felt like I had to lean too heavily on the newbie groups and that, because you do see people in there. And it's nice that there is a place for that. And that's what I want to create with Sponge as well. I want there to be a really nice, friendly, inclusive place where people can ask questions or search through an organized catalogue. If you've got a question and you can go through and find a forum. Whereas I think the Facebook groups maybe lack the organization. And there's something about Facebook, I don't know what it is, because I don't feel like you get it so much on Instagram. And I'm not too familiar with TikTok, but there's something about Facebook that I don't know if people find it very triggering, but it can turn quite toxic quite quickly. And people get straight on the defensive on Facebook. Whereas I
Yeah.
think when if you were talking to people face to face, you don't feel that defensive.
No.
And I feel like it'd be really nice if there was a sort of a community platform where it felt like we were all in the same room. We're all here to learn. I'm not here to pick apart your ideas or say what you're doing is wrong. I'm here to feel reassured and like we've all been through this before.
I'm interested to know how you are going to do that when you talk about building a community.
Mm,
I mean, might sound a bit odd, but the majority of face painters are women, and women support each other. They talk, they need to do that. And they've always done that with good reason. If you go back in millennia of history, it's the men are going out hunting dinosaurs or whatever, and the women have got to be there to support each other because there's all these children milling around and they've still got to make the fire and stop the kids falling in the fire and go to the well. So we've always supported each other. So we are social creatures, very definitely, but we do talk, so it can become a problem as well, the sort of over talking, the oversharing, and the criticism quite often. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's what we do, and we have to learn to be kind, really. And that's again trying to be my ethos is the kindness thing. Whenever possible, be kind. It is always
yeah.
possible. It's learning to stop and think. And instead of reacting, it's learning to respond, which means
Yeah.
considering, because we always have a choice. We can choose how we behave. We can't necessarily choose the feeling that has struck us. We can choose to take a breath, count to 10, whatever it is, and consider how we then behave and what we say. As they say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I think that's pretty good, particularly online.
Yeah. Oh, let it
Yeah.
go.
We're frozen. Yeah.
So what's next for you for Facade? What's coming up in the pipeline then?
Right. Well, you probably know that I've got a line of brushes, the Juliet Eve collection brushes. Quick call out for them.
Yeah, plug, plug.
And it quite. And again, I put those together because I'm a face painter. I know what works. I know what types of brushes work, and they do. They work beautifully. So that will continue. The fan club. Well, the best thing really is that we've been building an app. So we are going to be
Wow,
launching an app,
that's
um,
exciting.
which, yeah, it really is. And oh, we're desperate to get it out. It just means that you've got something on your phone, and there's going to be 3 levels. Gosh, I'm giving away secrets now. But anyway, there's going to be a kind of free level of various things, basic stuff, which will be totally free. And you can look at tutorials online, lots and lots of information on your phone. And then there will be a second level where you can only watch recorded stuff. And then the top level will be you can watch everything live as it comes in. You've got extra things like we do mentoring sessions every week or every other week. There's a jam session, again, live. So all that sort of stuff, but lots of personal interaction. But yeah, the more expensive one is a live with lots of other extra things. And there's discount codes and goodness knows. There's so much there.
That's what we were talking about this earlier, actually, weren't we? About what makes your fan club so special is the weekly live webinars where people can get real time feedback from you or say, I can't quite see what you're doing, or can you show me that again? I think that's really special because it's okay watching a tutorial or recording, but if you need that further clarification, being able to ask directly to an expert, that's priceless.
So there's that. And the other thing, of course, is that we have guest instructors, again, live, painting on
Mm,
real models. These aren't
Yeah.
just recordings. You can talk to them. Nick Wolf comes on and he does an hour class and then he talks for another hour. Rock can come and chat to him. It's just wonderful. So, yeah, so the guest instructors from around the world, absolutely the tops, fabulous people. And usually I do 2 weeks per module, and the guest instructor does 2 weeks. And again, all live. And it's structured, that's the thing. And when people come and join, I do a one-to-one with them, onboarding, and we run through the whole website. I explain exactly what's going on and what's happening and when and da da da. So yeah, it's much more personal, but yes, it's structured. However, what I thought when I started out the fan club is actually it's never ending. There are always new skills. There's always another subject.
Where can people find you? You're on Instagram.
I am Facade Academy,
Yeah.
Facade.academy.
And on
Um,
Facebook, I assume.
Facebook is Facade Academy and also Juliet Eve, actually. I'm on there as well. What else? I think Kay is talking about doing a TikTok. I'm keeping well clear, a bit like you. It's just something else. Another rabbit hole. And the fan club you find through the Facade Academy website. You can join there.
We'll put a link in it when we put the podcast information out. We'll make sure it's linked below so people can come straight there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty reasonable, and you've got 4 years worth of classes still. They're all recorded, uploaded, sitting there for all members to watch.
And more information coming weekly.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got Gio Guzman from the States. I'm also going to be teaching a little bit about folk art from Ukraine, so traditional Ukrainian art. I'm not an expert by any means, but it it translates beautifully into face painting. So I thought I'd teach a bit of that. So that's new for there. And we've got lots of other fabulous guest instructors this year. Loads.
Well, it sounds amazing. And thank you so much for coming on and for chatting with us and everything that you do for the industry, I think.
It's been a fabulous life running it, I have to say. Best job in the world, definitely.
That's it for today's episode of Sponge Stories. If you found this helpful or it made you think, oh, thank God it's not just me, I'd love for you to share it with another face painter who needs to hear it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. There's plenty more real talk and a bit more waffle coming your way. And if you've got a story, a question, or you'd even like to come on the podcast, you can email me at hello@spongecommunity.co.uk or send us a DM over on Instagram, Sponge Stories.